Okay, so let's just get started. So today we'll be starting with a fresh topic called profile. And there is something called profile in Spring, and we'll be start talking about profile, where we can use profile, what are different ways that we can use profile. So profile can be used with your Spring Boot, that we'll be speaking later, and the profile can be used with the plain Spring application as well. Okay, so today we're going to be understanding what is the use that we have with the profile annotation, and why should we use it, and where are what are the different places where we can use profile. Okay, so first of all, I have already created this project called profile deep dive 01 component label, and if you want to see here in the pom.xml, I have nothing. I think this is the dependency that we have added to bring in our container. That's the Spring context that we have. Okay, so it's not a Spring Boot application, it's a Spring application, as you guys know. And inside this this project, I have this package, and as usual, I have not deleted this couple of files. I have a app.java file where I'll be basically creating my container and accessing the bean, and I'm creating the container out of this app config file here. And the app config file does not have anything, it's just a configuration file, and does have a component scan annotation so that it can scan for all the components and can make it available inside your container. Okay, so this is something really simple that we are doing throughout the last few sessions. So right now, let's just go ahead and start creating a maybe I'll be start writing few few interfaces and classes right now, and then I'll go ahead and I'll bring in profile here. Okay, so before we move into profile, let's just set off our environment. So let's just create an interface, and I will say this one is, let's say, for Spring app, and I'll say service. Okay, let's say this is a service class I want to write, and I will have a service interface called payment gateway. Okay, and I'll do a finish. Inside this interface, let's say I have a simple method here called public void, let's say do payment, or let's say pay. Okay, I have a payment gateway interface, and I have a pay method here. The pay method basically takes a int and amount. Okay, that's it. This is an interface method that we have, and let's say I have a couple of implementation for this payment gateway right now. And I'll go ahead and create my first class, and this is going to be GPay payment gateway. Let's say GPay payment gateway. Okay, and I have to implement this interface called payment gateway. Okay, and I'll do a finish. I got to override the pay method inside my GPay payment gateway right now. Let's do a sysout. I'll say sysout, let's say paying through GPay. Okay, and let's say I will have another sysout here, sysout, and I'll say let's say payment processing for amount, and I'll have an amount here, like the amount that somebody is passing. Okay, so this is my first implementation called GPay payment gateway for my payment gateway interface, and I'll have another implementation for this. I'll just do a Control V here, and I'm going to say PayPal. Let's say PayPal payment gateway. Okay, and I'll do a finish, and I'll just go over there and modify this class a little bit. So I'll go to the PayPal payment gateway, and right here I'll say paying using PayPal. Okay, and I'm going to be processing the amount whatever somebody is giving here. Okay, so I have this payment gateway interface so far. Do a Control T here. I have this couple of implementation called GPay payment gateway and the PayPal payment gateway, right? It's pretty simple. Now what I want to do, I want to create a payment processor class using what I'll process my payment. So let's say payment processor. This is a class that I want to create, and let's just do a finish. And here, let's say I will have a method called do payment. Okay, and let's say this is going to be a void method, so I'll say public and void, and the do payment method again will take an amount, let's say, and will process that amount. Let's say it's gonna accept a amount, and this is the amount this is the method that the client will call, or my app.java will call this do payment method, and then the do payment method will process the amount using the payment gateway. Okay, and to do that, I'll have the interface called payment gateway. Payment gateway, better thing is like, you'll be coding to an interface. So I'm taking my interface reference here, and there are a couple of implementations so far. So I'll be injecting that using AutoWare. And next thing I'll be doing, like, I'll be processing the payment or the amount that I'm receiving using the payment gateway. So payment gateway.pay, and I'll be processing this amount here using the type of object somebody gives. Let's say somebody gives the GPay payment gateway object, then I'll process this amount using the GPay. And if somebody gives the PayPal payment gateway over here, then I'll process this amount using the PayPal payment gateway object. Okay, and obviously I'm doing auto-varying here, so I have to make it add component. But as I'm saying, like, this is my service class, I'll be writing add service here. Okay, so add service is a specialized annotation. It's just like add component annotation that we are having, but it's like if you are writing a service class where we are doing some business stuff. Here I'm doing some business stuff right now. I'm processing a payment, and this is some kind of logic, my business logic that I'm writing, how my payment will be processed. So this is some kind of my service class, and I'm writing add service annotation. So if you're gonna go to add service annotation, as I have told you, it's a specialized version of component. So you can say it's already annotated with add component. So you can either write add component directly here, or you can just write add service. Add service does a little bit of extra stuff compared to the add component, but for now we can treat add service and add component are kind of similar annotation, which are some stereotype annotation that we have in Spring framework, and this is going to help me for component scanning. Okay, so instead of putting add component, as this is my service class, I'm just writing add service, and this is also going to be eligible for component scanning. Okay, I hope this much is making sense. The next thing that I'm gonna be doing, I'll be going to payment gateway, and I'll go to all the implementation that I have right now. I'll go to the GPay payment gateway, and I'll make it a component, right? I'll make it a component, and also I have another one, Control T here, PayPal payment gateway. Let's go over there and let's just make it a component as well. Okay, I think my setup is done, and I have right now few classes to play with, and there we go. Okay, so let me just collapse everything, and I'll go to where I was coding, profile deep dive, right? So I have few classes here in my service. Now let's just use it. Okay, so I will go to appconfig class. Anyhow, appconfig class is going to scan for all my beans, my components and service classes that I have inside this package. Now let's just load that out. So I'll go to app.java. I have my container here. Now let's just use our container, and I'll just do get bean, and I'm going to be getting the bean for, what is that? I think payment processor, right? I'm going to say payment processor dot class. It's going to get me the payment processor object. Then I'm going to do payment, and I'm going to be paying, let's say 20,000 amount using my using my like gateway, right? So do payment method will go to here to the payment processor, and the payment processor will use one of the payment gateway in order to process the amount that I'm passing here. Okay, so right now if I'll run this application, it will pass or fail, like any exception will be getting, or like it will execute fine right now.
I think it will fail.
It will fail. If I'll do run this, then obviously it will be a error creating bean for payment processor. Payment processor bean is not getting created. This object bean is not getting created, and you guess the reason right, because we have the payment gateway, but there are a couple of implementation for this, and these are all of the beans which are available right now. Spring is confused which one to inject here. So that's what it is saying. Payment processor bean is not able to create it because unsatisfied dependency expressed through the payment gateway. No qualifying bean for payment gateway available, and it is expecting a single matching bean, but finding two, GPay payment gateway and PayPal payment gateway. So I told you already, like one way to solve it is like, go to one of the profile and make one of the profile as primary, right? Now let's say the GPay payment gateway, this is going to be a primary profile for me. So now the GPay will be obviously take the priority, and the GPay bean will be injected in the payment processor, in the payment gateway dependency that we are having inside the payment processor. Okay, now paying through the GPay. So GPay bean is getting picked up, and the GPay specific method is getting called as we are injecting the GPay specific bean inside our payment gateway. That's all cool. We understood about the primary annotation previously as well. So now what I don't want to use primary. Rather, I want to talk something which is called a profile. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, let's say the GPay payment gateway here, I'll create a profile for this bean. This is a bean because this is having add component annotation. Now I'm going to be using a add profile annotation here, and I'll tell you why I'm using this profile annotation. But for now, this profile annotation, let's say I'm going to give a profile name here called GPay. Okay, and then I will go to the other one, which is my PayPal payment gateway, and right here also for the PayPal I'll be creating a profile, and this profile name I'll be giving here, let's say, is going to be PayPal. Okay, now why I'm creating this profile and what is the benefit that I'm going to be having, and why, what I want to say to Spring whenever I'm writing a profile here. Okay, so basically what I'm saying that, hey Spring, just do me a favor, when the GPay profile is activated, you create the bean for this, and when the PayPal profile is activated, you create the bean for this. That means when the PayPal profile is activated, I'll tell you how to activate the profile, but when the PayPal profile is activated, don't create the GPay bean, just create the PayPal payment gateway bean. Okay, we'll see how we'll be achieving that. So now I just told you, we are mapping this bean. This is a bean because it's a component, right? We are mapping this bean to this profile name called PayPal. Okay, so whenever this PayPal is activated, this profile is activated, this is the bean which will be created. Okay, and when GPay profile will be activated, this bean will be created, and when GPay profile is activated, only this bean will be created, not this bean. Okay, now the question is how we'll be activating the profile. Okay, now to activate the profile, let's just do close all, go to appconfig.java, or not appconfig, app.java. There are different ways to activate the profile, but for now let's just do one thing. I will activate the profile here. Container, first I'll be getting my getting my context. I will get the environment otherwise, so can I just do get environment? Okay, and now this get environment will get me the environment object back. Let me just use this annotation or this class name directly, and let me just try this. I'll say annotation config application context. Now get environment. Now let me just try set active profiles. From where it is coming? Configurable environment is coming from this class. Okay, now I'll be using this set active profiles method over here to set my profile. Okay, so I'm getting the environment, and with this environment I'm setting the active profiles. Okay, that's why I just got the environment, because the set active profile is inside the configurable environment class. Okay, so now let's just do one thing here. Inside the profile, I'll activate my profile. Let's say I'll activate the GPay profile right now. Okay, so I'm getting the environment, and then I'm setting my profile to GPay. Okay, now if I do this, I think this will not work. If I'll do right click, run as, I remove the primary annotation, right? Let me just go to payment processor. PayPal is having a PayPal profile here. Okay, and the GPay payment gateway is having the GPay. There is no primary is selected here, right? So I'll go to app.java. I'm setting the GPay profile. I want the GPay bean to be created, and then I'm doing the payment. Okay, so let's see if my GPay bean is going to be created. I think it will not work. Let's just do Java application, and it should fail. I'll tell you why it is failing. It is just saying unsatisfied dependency expressed to the field payment gateway. Now it is saying no qualifying bean of the payment gateway is available. It is saying I don't find any, at least one I'm expecting, but there is no AutoWare candidate available. Okay, there is no AutoWord candidate available for the payment processor. For the payment gateway bean is not available. So why is that? Why our profile didn't get selected here, which is the GPay payment gateway? Because I wanted to create this bean because I have the profile selected as GPay, and I'm setting the GPay as my profile in my app.java class, because the container I'm creating right here. Okay, and how I'm creating the container? I'm creating the container using this app config file. What this app config file is doing, it is basically scanning. It is just doing a component scan and is scanning for all my beans, right? So basically scanning for all the beans which are available over here and creating the beans and putting them in the container. But what I want to do here, let's not, whenever we're creating a container, let's not create the beans straight away. I'll be removing that exactly. So right now I'm just setting my profile here with this container. I'm creating my application context container. I'm getting the environment and setting my active profile, which is GPay right here. Then let me just do container dot register. Okay, and I will register my application context file right now, and my application context will be created from the app config file. So I'll say appconfig.class. Okay, so I'll register this class. That means this container will be created from this app config right now, and I'm also setting some profiles to this container. So my container will be created here. I'm setting a profile to my container. I'm setting the configuration file to my container, and now what I want to do, I want to reload my container. I'll say container dot refresh. Okay, so what this refresh method will do, it will basically trigger an event behind the scene. I haven't spoke about event, so let's not go inside that right now. But what this refresh method will do, in simple word, it will just reload the container. That means all your beans will be created again, and all your beans will be created and initialized from this config file, and also the profile will be set. So I'm creating my container, setting the necessary information, then reloading my container or reinitializing my container by using the refresh method. The refresh method is trigger a refresh event behind the scene, which is going to refresh your container and reinitialize and reload all your beans right now. Now let's just see if it is working fine. Run as Java application. Now if this time it doesn't work, I'll run away. Okay, it's GPay and paying the amount 20,000, 20,000. It's working good, right? Now let me change my profile. I'll say, let's say PayPal, Control S, do a right click, run as Java application. Let's see if my PayPal profile is getting activated. Yeah, paying through the PayPal, and payment processing amount is 20,000. That means I'm able to control which profile will be selected right now. I'm hitting a Control Shift O to remove all my unnecessary imports. So what I'm saying is, right now I'm selecting my profile, and based on my profile that I'm choosing right now, the container is creating the bean for those profile. Right now the PayPal is activated. So wherever in my application, now I'm just dealing with a very simple example. I'll be going with a complex one soon. But wherever in my application, I have this add profile annotation with this thing in place, those beans will be created. Let's just clear our doubt right now. I'll go to app.java. I'm activating the PayPal profile. So as per my statement, the PayPal payment gateway bean should be created. Now let's just do one thing. Okay. Now let's just do one thing. I'll just do container.getBean, and I'll just find the bean of, let's say, GPay payment gateway class. So right now my PayPal profile is activated. That means only PayPal bean will be created, right? My GPay payment gateway bean will not be created because this is having a profile annotation. This bean is having a profile annotation, and this profile is not activated yet. Then this will not be created. This bean will not be created. Now let me go to app.java and let's just try to access this bean. And I think this is right now going to get me a exception. Assign statement to a new local variable. This is GPay payment gateway. Now let's just do a sysout. Okay, GPay payment gateway, Control S. And right now if I'm going to do right click, run as Java application, Now, see, we're getting an exception, no such bean definition exception, and it is saying no qualifying bean is available for GPay payment gateway. Okay, so now this statement is giving us a problem because the profile which is activated right now is PayPal, and the GPay bean, that's why, is not getting created. Okay, so far, does it making a little bit of sense, like what I'm doing with profile, how I'm activating my profile, and what this add profile annotation does mean? A little bit of sense. I will go much more in depth. This is like a very simple introduction. Can I get some idea from you guys? Like, is it making sense?
I will just one doubt.
Okay.
So when I'm registering the bean, so why are we doing refresh?
Yeah, tell me no why I'm refreshing it, Akhil. If I will not refresh, then if I'll not refresh, I think we'll have a exception. If I'll do Control S, and if I'll do right click, run as Java application, I think we'll have exception. Are we? Yes. See, container has not been refreshed yet because I have created a container, then made some changes to it. Okay. Akhil, do you remember like maybe a year back or something? We have discussed something about called events, which happens basically with Spring Framework.
Yes.
We like, I haven't told anything about it yet over here. I'll be talking about it. But whenever the application starts, there is a events get fired. Whenever the application stopped, there is an event get fired. When the application refreshed, there is an event get fired, right? All these things works with event. Right now, whenever you created your container is created. There is no configuration file has been there, which has been attached to this. Now you are setting and modifying the container information. You are attaching a profile. You are registering a config file, like out of what your container will be created. And now after you set all these things, there is a refresh needed. So your application context will be, this will just dispatch an event that is going to be a context refreshed event. And that event will do what? It will reload your application context. That means all your bean will be recreated and this profile will be set with those bean. Okay, let's say right now app config will create the bean, the container will create the bean out of the app config. Now the app config will scan for all the bean. It will scan for this guy first, the GPay. It will see, okay, I have to create this bean because it has a component annotation, but also a profile is specified. Okay, is this profile activated? Now also we have set some profile related information to our container, and now the profile is PayPal. That means this one, the GPay one, will not be created. Then this one will be scanned. Then this will be created. Okay, because it has the right profile, and this bean will be created. And then the payment processor will be created because it has a payment gateway dependency. So first of all, the dependency bean will be created. Now this service will be scanned and this bean will be created, will be inject the bean which is available. In this case, this will be the PayPal, and then it will just pay the amount using the PayPal bean which will be injected here. Akhil.
Got it at last. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys?
Somesh, so in the case of upgrade of primary, so both the beans will create it at the runtime, only the primary annotation will inject, right?
Exactly. In that case also, both the beans are getting created. Okay, but here we are restricting only that profile bean will be created, the profile which is selected by the developer. Okay, we'll be going into much more depth about the profile, how we'll be controlling the creation of the bean based on the profile we'll be selecting, and there are a lot of things that we can configure with it. We'll go into that, but yeah, like whatever your understanding is, that is correct. Any other questions? Coming back to our profile stuff. Okay, now this way I have just registered a class and I have set my profile. This is one way I'm activating my profile. This is the only takeaway that you have to understand so far. This is the only takeaway that you have to take with this 10-20 minutes lessons that we have. Now coming back to our topic. Okay, now forget about how the container is getting created, how it is getting loaded, how our config file is getting loaded, and all these things. Coming back to profile again. Now see how I am creating my profiles right now. I'm creating my profiles right now using the profile annotation by placing it with the with our component, right? But is this the only way that we can set our profile? No, there are many different ways using what the profile can be set. For now, what I'm going to be doing, anyhow, I'll be giving you this particular project. I'm going to do Control C, Control V here. I'll create another project right now where I'll be telling you another way you can use your profile. So I'll say profile in bean label. Okay, profile in bin label, and it's going to be very simple. I'll use the same example right now. Let me just close everything. Go to profile in bin label, and I'll go over here right now. And here what I'll do, I have this particular profiles created here, and I put it inside the component label. So now let me just remove add profile from here, from the component label. I'll go to the PayPal payment gateway, and I will just remove the profile from the component label. And now I will go to the payment processor, and here what I'm doing, I'm basically doing some auto varying, and I will be basically creating a service instance over here. So now what I'm gonna say, like the GPay payment gateway. Okay, one more thing I can do, I can just remove add component here. Let's say the bean itself I'll not be creating right here, and here also the bean itself I'll not be creating here. Okay, this is just a simple POJO that we have, the PayPal payment gateway, which is our service implementation. That's it. Okay, and that's it. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be closing all this thing, and for now what I'll do, I'll go to my app config class, and there I'll set up my profile. It's going to be very simple, guys. This approach is also going to be very simple. Let's say you are creating the bean inside your app config class. Let's say you have a couple of bean, public, what is that? GPay payment gateway, GPay payment gateway, and let's say return new GPay payment gateway. Okay, and I'm gonna be making it a bean @bean. Okay, and now I will be setting my profile here itself. I'll say profile, and I'll say like profile is GPay. Okay, I'll do the same thing. Maybe I'll just create another one, public PayPal payment gateway, and I'll create new PayPal payment gateway. Everyone please be on mute. Payment gateway, and I'll just say @bean here, and I'll just say @profile here. Okay, this is another way we can set up our profile, and this time I'm just setting my GPay and the PayPal profile based on like with the @bean annotation right here. And now let me just do GPay payment gateway, and this is like PayPal payment gateway. Okay, let's say there are a couple of methods. Okay, now things are good. Now let's see like this time it works or not. I think this bean we're creating here, and right now I'm using @profile with the @bean annotation. And now if I'll go to the payment processor, and the payment processor is right now work with the @service annotation, so this will be detected automatically, and this will be injected. The bean will be injected based on the profile that we're selecting. So I'll just go to app.java, and this time I have used the PayPal profile. It's already set. I'll just use the same class, no explanation, run as Java application, and I will be having the PayPal thing selected here. Now if I'm gonna be using GPay, and this time the GPay will be selected here as well. Run as Java application, and this time it is paying through the GPay. So now you understood how to use the @profile annotation with @bean. So is this the couple of ways that we can set our profile? No, there are a lot of other ways as well. We can also set profile using our pom.xml file. Okay, I'll telling you that's going to be a little bit of advanced stuff. We'll not be going into the pom.xml file right now and the detailed thing about how we can set profile using the pom.xml. We can go for it whenever we'll be dealing with the multi-module Maven project. That time I'll be explaining about it. But for now, let's just forget about the pom.xml. Just understand that inside the pom.xml also we can set our profile. Okay, now let's just go to the next important approach, and I think this is one of the real-time approach that most of the people use in their projects, right? Now let's just go for that. Okay, now this is profile with @bean, and we spoke about profile with @component with @component in the component label. Now let's just go for another approach. So yeah, there you go. So the next thing, now let's understand how to set up our profile in configuration level. Okay, so we can also set up our profile in configuration level. For an example, what I'm gonna do, I'll go to this this particular project. I'll do a copy paste here, and I'll say profile div type number 3, and this time I'll be using in configuration level. Okay, configuration level, that's it. Do a copy. Okay, and let's just go over here, and this time how I want to set up my profile in the configuration level. Okay guys, before we go for configuration level, just for curiosity, I'm going to be asking you a question. Let's say I have this payment gateway, PayPal payment gateway I have. One second, let me open that. My system is behaving a little slow as usual, and I'll go to payment processor right now. Now let's say guys, I have add service annotation here and add auto word here. Just want to test your understanding. Let's say if I don't have add service here, and if I don't have add auto word here, okay, so I am configuring everything, like all my bean information right here. If I'll open this, so can somebody tell me how to set off the payment processor bean over here? Anybody? Anyone? How to set up the payment processor bean right here? How to write that?
We'll create a bean, sir. One more method to create that. We'll call the what are the GPay or PayPal with that.
Yeah, can somebody can you please help me, Srinivas, how to write that?
Public what is the
payment processor.
Last name is payment gateway.
Payment processor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Payment processor. Okay, then return new payment processor.
Yeah, within the to the constructor, whatever the
I don't have a constructor yet. I don't have a constructor yet. So do I have to create one?
Yes, sir. Or else we can write some setter.
We can also write some setter. Let's just go at your first approach. Let me just create a constructor here itself. So generate constructor using fields. Let me click on this to generate, and I have the payment processor constructor here, which takes a payment gateway in the parameter. Now in the app config, what should I write?
We'll call that method, sir. Any one of the method above method.
Okay, if I don't want to call if I don't want to call that method any other way, I can call this method. This will work, I'm sure.
Or else again we have to write the same code. New PayPal gateway like that.
Can we pass? Can I do like this? What is my interface name? Payment gateway, right? Payment gateway has couple of implementation. Can I do payment gateway right here itself? And can I pass the payment gateway right here? Will it work?
No, I think so.
Will it work or it will not work, guys?
No, sir, it won't work. I think.
It will work.
It will work.
But here it will. Yeah, it will work.
It will be a bean. I'm sorry. That I have missed.
That's what
It
is not having bean annotation.
Yeah, it's going to be a bean. Why I'm getting this problem? I think this is just a Eclipse issue. Let me just open my config file right here. Let me open that. Okay, now this time it will work.
No, sir. No. Again, the conflict will come.
Conflict will come.
Two qualifying beans for payment gateway.
But I have, let's say if I have chosen the profile here in the app.java, in the app.java I have chosen GPay profile, then do you think it will work?
No idea, sir.
Let's run this. Guys, that's why I asked this. Just make sure like you should be clear with this. So we are getting it through the GPay. So what happened here? What just happened here? Look at that. PayPal payment, where I was, app config. So I'm creating the payment processor bean, right? Payment processor bean. I'm creating the object of payment processor bean and passing a payment gateway. Why I'm passing this one? Because if you go to the payment processor class, I have this constructor, right? And this constructor takes what? A payment gateway object. And the payment gateway will have two types, GPay and PayPal. Okay, and that should be auto-word, right? And here what I'm doing in the app config.java, here I'm creating the payment processor bean. And whenever I'm creating the payment processor bean, Spring will be running this method. So this method will be running because it needs to create the payment processor bean. For that, it will be needing the payment gateway as a dependency, and that should be AutoWare. So if you are writing at AutoWare here, whatever you mean by that, if I don't write at AutoWare here also, that is also fine. So this add AutoWare is not compulsory. So even though you are not writing at AutoWare here, still Spring is doing what? It is basically auto-waring the payment gateway. So before this bean will be called, this bean will be payment processor bean. So before Spring will load this bean, okay, the bean will be loaded in any order, right? But let's say Spring first choose this one. So whenever it will load this bean, it will look, okay, the payment processor bean, how I need to create? I need to create like this. Okay, I'll be invoking this processor, like payment processor constructor that I have inside this class. But it has a dependency, okay? But that dependency need to be auto-wared. So I need to create the dependency for this. Okay, I'll be creating this bean and this bean, but yeah, there is a add profile annotation. So which profile is activated with my container? Let's say GPay. So I'll be creating this bean. So let's say this bean is right now available. Then whenever it will be creating this payment processor bean, it will be injecting that payment gateway bean, and this time one of the implementation is available. Do Control T here. Which implementation is available? GPay payment gateway is available, right? This implementation is available because we have the bean for that, right? So now that bean will be injected to this, and that will be used as a dependency here. So this writing this AutoWare is not compulsory. You can remove it if it is like if there is one argument or something, or I think it also works for the multiple arguments. Writing at AutoWare is not compulsory, right? It can just remove auto-waring also. So that means you are saying, hey, whenever you are creating this bean, inject this gateway object, right? Now let's see, like, if I'll go to app.java and if I'll just to PayPal here, then this will work or not. Right click, run as Java application, and this is working, right? All good. Guys, clear, right? This much, whatever I said.
Yes.
Okay, now let's go for the next thing. So now we are going to talk about add profile. Coming back to add profile again, I just got deviated out of the topic. Sorry about it, but I think this is important. Now coming back to the configuration level. So how we can set up profile in the configuration level. So in the configuration level means inside a configuration class that we have. Let's say there is a class called fconfig, right? On top of this configuration class also we can set up profile. Okay, now I'll tell you how to do that. But that means what I mean to say, the profile can be written here itself. Okay, the profile can be written here itself on top of the configuration class. But for now, what I can do, let's just create some more configuration classes. Let's say this is my main configuration class. Let me do some, let me just change some of the files here. Let me create a new file here called GPay gateway config. Let's say this is one of my config class. Okay, and inside this config class right now, let's say I have the GPay related bean. Now let's say this is a configuration class. Okay, now let's say I'll be moving my GPay related bean. Where is my GPay bean? GPay bean is here. Let me copy this, Control X, and go to my GPay gateway config. Let me put all my GPay related configuration beans right here, and let me remove the profile from the bean label. Okay, let's say right here inside this configuration class, I have not much of the things about the GPay gateway config. I'm only having the GPay payment gateway here, but let's say in future I'll have lot of beans or lot of related classes about my Google Pay gateway. But right now, as I have one, I'm putting only one bean, but in future this configuration class may grow. If I have hundreds of classes which is related to the Google Pay configuration, then I can put all those beans right here. And on top of this configuration only, I can just write add profile like this. And right here, I can just say GPay. Okay, so that means all the beans that I'm dumping inside this config file, those will be mapped to the GPay profile. Okay, and like this, I will create another class, Control C, and do Control B here. Let's say PayPal gateway profile. Okay, to Control enter, and the PayPal gateway. Sorry, what is that? PayPal gateway let me just say PayPal gateway config. Okay, I can say also profile, but just fine. Let me just say it config. Let me hover on this. Come on, man. This system is killing me. Let me just do a Control S. Okay, now I have the PayPal gateway config here. Now let me just cut the PayPal related bean to this. So PayPal bean is here. Control X. Put the PayPal related bean here. Okay, and I'll just create a profile called PayPal. Now let me just close all the classes, and I'll show you everything so that it will make more sense. I'll do a Control Shift F in the main class, do a Control S, and just remove everything. Now let's see what I have done here. I have three configuration file here. This is my main configuration file called app config, the GPay gateway config, and the PayPal gateway config. The PayPal gateway config responsibility is this is a configuration file that I have related to PayPal settings, and here I have the PayPal gateway being created here, and I don't need to have the profile here because I have set the profile on the top. Now look at this particular class. This is the configuration class. I have set a profile in the configuration label called PayPal, and I have many beans, and this time I have only one, but I can have many beans right over here. Let's say whatever beans that you are defining over here, that will be mapped to this profile called PayPal. Okay, so this is my PayPal gateway config class, which is carrying a PayPal gateway bean for now. Same thing for GPay gateway config. If I'll go over here, look at that. I have the GPay gateway config, and here it is carrying the GPay payment gateway bean, and it has the add bean annotation. It is a configuration class, and I have the add profile annotation here, and this is mapped to GPay. Now I have this main configuration class. The main configuration class, to this guy I will say, okay, here I'm creating the payment processor bean. You're gonna be getting one of the payment gateway based on the profile selected. Okay, so right now, how this configuration class, this is going to be my main configuration class where I'll be creating the bean. I don't need a component scan over here right now because I'm not using any component scanning. I'm creating the bean manually. Look at that. I'm creating the payment processor bean right here, and whenever this bean will be created, it will be needing one of the payment gateway bean. So one of the payment gateway bean is created in this configuration file, okay, which is PayPal payment gateway bean. I moved it to here, and another payment gateway bean is getting created right over here, which is my GPay gateway config file, so which is mapped to this profile called GPay. Now I'll go to my app.java, and this time I'll do no changes here. Okay, I don't want to go into anything else. This is the simple thing. I'm creating my application context right here. I'm setting my environment thing right here. Now it is set to PayPal. That means I want this config file, the PayPal gateway config file, to come in action, this PayPal profile to be activated, and all the beans that I have inside this configuration class need to be created right now because the profile is there inside the config class label. I want this config class to create all the beans right now when this PayPal profile is selected. So in that case, in my app.config.java, the payment processor, whenever this bean will be created, the payment gateway bean will be needed, and that time as I'm activating the PayPal profile right here, it will basically use this config file, and it will be creating this bean, and it will inject this bean to my my payment processor to here. Okay, now let's see if my PayPal related methods are getting called. Do a right click, run as Java application, and I think it will fail. Is it failing? Yes, it is failing. Look at that, what it is saying. It is saying unsatisfied dependency exception. It is not able to create the payment processor bean because it has a dependency, and it is saying for the parameter 0 for the payment processor bean, if you're gonna go to app.config.class, for this bean, the payment gateway, this parameter 0 is not getting injected. That's what it says. Look at that. Parameter 0, no qualifying bean for payment gateway. Okay, available, no, it is not available. Expected at least one bean which should be qualified as a whatever candidate, but it is not finding any bean. So that means whenever this bean is getting created, it is not able to inject the bean of payment gateway. But what I was expecting, as I have selected the PayPal profile, so this gateway config, this config file should come in action as it is mapped to this profile, and all the bean inside this configuration file should be created, and this bean also should be created, and that should be injected inside our main configuration file right here and right here, and this statement should be invoked, but it is not working. Why is that? Because as I said, this is the configuration file that we are working with in our app.java. Look at that, app.config.class. We are registering this config file right here. So whenever we are loading this config file, do a control click. Here we have to do an import. We have to import all the other configuration file right here. I think somebody was asking me about the import in the second or third class. This is the real-time use of @import. @import is used to import the configuration file. Somebody, I think some people were asking about this one whenever I was just explaining about the property source. But yeah, look at the real-time uses of @import right now. So @import right here, and now I'll be importing, I'll be having a @value annotation. You can see it is just taking multiple config file. We can load it right here. Now I'll be loading a couple of my config file. One will be GPay, payment gateway, not this one. I think GPay, what is that? I think I had a typo here. GPay. Okay, gateway config.class, and I have one more, PayPal gateway config.class. Right now, my application config. This is going to be my main application configuration file, but I'm doing an import and importing my configuration from these classes. Okay, and this bean will be, when this bean will be created, again, when this config out of this config class, my container will be created, but also my container will import this configuration file and take them into the consideration whenever it is working with the app config bean. Okay, so that's it. Now if you go to app.java, do a right click, run as Java application. This should work. Is it working? Yes. Now it's paying through the PayPal, and now if I'm going to change it to GPay, it should work with GPay right now. Right click, run as Java application, and it's working with GPay right now. Look at this. Making sense, guys? Can you please confirm me?
What? I didn't get the import part. Shouldn't it automatically scan the component scan?
It will not be automatically scanned. No, okay. So you are saying this configuration is having component, right? That's why you are saying, but no. See, this is a configuration file. You are creating the config file out of this, right? So you got to import your files, and I have removed that component scan annotation right here. Why I have removed? There is a reason. I'll be going into that. But for now, is what I'm doing here is I'm loading this as my main file right here in the app.java. Okay, in the app.java, I'm loading this. I'm registering this this file, appconfig.class, with my container. My container will be created out of this file, and this file right now is having one bean, but there might be any dependency, right? And those dependency from where I'll be getting? I'll be getting from this config file. I may have hundreds of config file right here, but for now I have only two. I have this one and I have this one. But based on the profile which is selected, that particular config file is going to be loaded. And there is a reason why I have not used that component scan right here. Okay, even though I think you put, I think, I don't want to go into that right now, but let's say if you're going to come to here, if I'll be putting at component scan, and I'll be doing this, if I'm going to go to app.java, right click, run as Java application. Okay, look at this. Okay, clear? But for now, I will not be using the component scan right here. I will just go over here, right click, run as Java application. This will fail. Okay, and you have to make sure you have to have the import annotation. This is a good place to introduce the import annotation, because you'll be finding this annotation really helpful. That's why I have not used @component scan. But you are correct. All the configuration annotations that we have, that is having @component annotation, and that's why if you have the GPay gateway config, this is also having add configuration annotation. That means it has the add component inbuilt. If you have the PayPal gateway config, it has the add configuration annotation and it has the add component inbuilt. And that's why if you're gonna have the the component scan here, that should work. But I have removed it. One is this one, and there is one more thing which is going to become on the way. Okay. We have 10 more minutes. Let me quickly complete one more thing. The last thing, this is an interesting one, guys. 5 minutes more. I'm going to do Control C, Control V. I'll just show you one more way. I'll just do deep dive 04. And this time I'll tell you a custom annotation. Custom annotation label. You can also use the profile annotation in the custom annotation label. What I mean by that, you can also create profile related annotation by yourself. Like you can actually create your own custom profile annotation. Like you have a add profile annotation, you can have your custom profiles. For an example, I will just create a new package, or I'll create a new annotation. I'll put it inside a package called firstspringapp.myAnnotation. Okay. And here I will be creating a new class, let's say GPay profile. This is my custom annotation that I want to create. So I have created a custom annotation, and this is how you will be creating custom annotation. I have a complete session on custom annotation on YouTube. You can go ahead and check that. That's called how to build custom validator annotation. But yeah, we'll be going into that in depth later in the MVC videos, or in the MVC sessions. We'll be going into that. For now, this is basically I think this is basically you can create a annotation. This is the way. This is the basic syntax using get interface annotation. You can use this annotation to create a custom annotation. And now on top of this, I'm gonna be using my profile annotation like this, and I'll be saying, okay, GPay profile. I'm using here GPay. Okay, like this. This is one of my own annotation. I'll be and see the mark here @ mark. I'll be creating one more. Control C, and I'll Control V here, and I'll say PayPal profile. PayPal profile. Now I'm creating two annotation called PayPal profile and GPay profile. Now come to PayPal profile. This is my PayPal profile annotation, and on top of that I'll be using Spring annotation, and I'll be saying PayPal. That's it. Now I have two annotations called PayPal profile and GPay profile. Let me just close everything. Now what I'll do, I can use this annotation in the component label, in the configuration label, in the bean label, wherever I want. For now, what I'll do, I'll just delete all this, things that I have created, and I'll just go to appconfig.java. I'll make it really simple. I'll just make it component scanned for now. I will just remove this at import. Okay, let's say I have an add configuration here, and I'll put a add component scan. Okay, now let's say I'm scanning the bean, and I don't have to create the bean manually right now. Control-Shift-O to remove any imports. Now it will scan for all the beans. Let's go to all the beans right now. First I have GPay payment gateway. Let's make it a component like this, @component. And now, sorry, not component scan, component. And now let me do one thing. Let me activate the profile. Now I don't have to write profile and GPay like this. Okay, so rather what I can do, I can straight away use my annotation, which is going to be GPay profile. Where is that? That typo. I'm just writing GAPY. So excuse me for that, guys. Just rectify it. GPay profile, and let me go to PayPal payment gateway. I'm very bad in typing, guys. Let me tell you that. And right here, I'm again gonna say component, and I'm gonna write what is that? PayPal profile. Okay. Now I don't have to specifically write profile and PayPal profile. I'm using one of my custom annotation. You can see the import com.selenium express for spring app.myAnnotation. So this is, if I do control click, this is the annotation that I have created, and on top of that I'm placing a profile right now. I think this is making sense. Now my payment processor, my payment gateway has a couple of implementation, and all this implementation has a like all this implementation has a respective annotation. If I go to GPay payment gateway, it is a component and it has a profile set. This is my custom annotation. And for the other one, which is the PayPal one, for that also there is a custom annotation set to that. PayPal payment gateway, go inside this, you have PayPal profile. Okay. And now let's go to the payment processor. Let's make it a service and let's just do a auto word. So let's just make it a service like this and auto word. That's it. Cool. I think we are done. Let's go to app.java and if this works, that's the end of the session. Let's just do, now the GPay is activated. Right click, run as Java application. Is it working or exception? What is saying? Parameters instead of avoids the interruption. Payment processor. It is not able to. Oh, it is still finding two. It's still finding two beans GPay payment gateway and PayPal payment gateway. But we have activated the GPay profile. That means our GPay payment gateway should be chosen because we have used this annotation. Okay, this is, oh, okay. I think one way why this annotation is not working because we are not telling when this annotation will be used. Will it be used in the compile time? Will it be used during the class load? Or will it be used in the runtime? This annotation should be used all the times and the runtime as well. So for that we have something called retention policy. Okay, and I want to specify the retention as runtime. I want to retain this annotation that I'm writing GPay profile till the runtime, and it should not be discarded anytime. So till the time my program runs, this annotation should be used, right? There are different retention policy, guys, like till what time the annotation will be used. Let's say till compile time the annotation will be used. Like you have a annotation called @override. If you remember, override annotation will let you know whenever you are using any interface and you are overriding any method. If you like, I think here only we should have example. There is annotation called override annotation, right? See, @override annotation. This is a compile time annotation. If you want to say pay one here, this is going to give you an error because of this annotation here called override. Because this is letting you know, see, retention is source right now. Source means as compile time. There are three types of retention. One is source, one is class, one is runtime. So this is like a compile time annotation. See, I'm writing pay one. This method is not available here inside this interface. That's why it is letting me know in the compile time only. Okay, so I have to write, okay, the developer will be sure, okay, I have done something wrong because the method name need to be pay, not pay one. So this annotation is working in the compile time and letting me know before I run this program that I have a mistake. Okay, like that. Here, this annotation that I have used, I want to retain it till the runtime, because in the runtime, when Spring will see this annotation that the developer have used it right here, then it will figure this out. Okay, there is a profile thing has been set and the container need to work based on the profile. So the retention policy that I have to set inside this, let's say this is runtime. So till the runtime, this annotation will work. And also let me copy this, go to the PayPal one, GPay profile and PayPal payment gateway. Let me go to this one and let me just put the retention policy here as well. If you want to know more about this retention policy, how to create annotation, go to the Spring MVC intermediate series, look for the custom validator and how to create annotations. I have given the complete examples on that. Otherwise, just use this, things will work fine, I believe. Let me go to app.java. If it will not work out, then I'm blank. I don't know why it will not work. Oh, it's working. Okay, so it's GPay and the amount is 20,000. Let me just change it to PayPal. And now if I'll do run as Java application, now the PayPal profile should be activated. Okay, now paying through PayPal. So make sure you can also create this kind of annotation. Okay, and this kind of annotation can be used in the component label. With the component, you're using this annotation. You can also use this kind of annotation with your configuration label. You can also use this kind of annotation in your bean label as well. Okay, more about profile tomorrow. That's it. Any other questions?
So where is the bean getting created for this a custom annotated profile?
Bean getting created for custom annotated profile. Custom annotated profile. That means
GPA profile. So earlier you were annotating.
the bean I have used at the component scan. Yeah. Okay. This file will be scanned, right? This file will scan all the components, right? So here I have defined add component here, right? So the bean will be created only when the profile is activated. So GPay profile, so is that profile is activated from the container is set with PayPal. So the GPay one will not be created, all right? The PayPal one will be created right now. This component will be created based on this profile settings, right? And why I'm writing PayPal there? Because internally, sorry, 1 second please. Because internally I have used PayPal here inside it. So this only I'm setting here. This is the way I'm activating my profile by setting it with my container only. Okay.
Okay.
But one good thing, guys, 1 second. I think this question trigger me another thing, guys. This is not the just remember this thing. This is not the only way that you can set or configure profile with your application. There are many different ways how to activate the profile with JUnit. There is the annotation called active profile. We'll talk about that whenever we'll be learning JUnit. There is a Spring Boot way of setting profiles. We'll be learning about that whenever we'll be learning Spring Boot. But with this, one more approach we can also try. Let's say I will comment this thing. Okay, PayPal, this thing. If I'll comment this will not work. No, run as Java application. This will right now fail. Okay, right now it will not be able to create the bean because there will not be any qualifying bean available because I have not set the profile. Is there any other way to set profile? I think yes. So you can, whenever you're running the class, right, do run as and go to run configuration and set a system property. Go to arguments and let's say right here in the VM arguments in the system properties, set one thing like I think spring.active.profile. So profiles.active, spring.profiles.active. Look at my spelling if I'm writing anything wrong. Profiles.active is equal to, let's say, GPay. Okay, now this is this VM argument. So how to specify the VM arguments? Give a -d. Okay, now let's just apply, run this. Let's see if it is working. Yeah, it's paying through GPay, right? Now see, I have not activated the profile using my environment. Now do a right click, run as, run configuration. Again, I can use that specific property. This is not I'm writing. This is like a predefined property, a system property the Spring has given to me. And I can use this property called spring.profiles.active. And I can change it to, let's say, PayPal. Okay, now the PayPal one will work. Run this, the PayPal profile will work. See, the PayPal one is working. So you can set the profile like this, or you can set the profile through the system arguments. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, one question actually I have.
Huh.
So what profile actually we are setting through annotation, right? So
Huh.
is it, does it work like a static variable? Because it's a retention policy is runtime. So throughout the runtime, it will maintain this particular object.
Does it work like a static variable?
Means it will maintain throughout the application is running, right?
Yes. So basically it will be retained, like, you know, this annotation will not be discarded. See, there are phases, right, Manish? Like the first phase is what we call that. The first phase is the program will be compiled. Okay. So if you go to this one, and if you go to retention policy, we have three things. The first one is source. Okay. Then that one is, the next one is class. The third one is runtime. The source one, see it. Annotations are to be discarded by the compiler. Once the compilation will be done, then the source, if your retention policy is source, that is that annotation work is over. The next one is class. I think this is the default. Yeah, this is the default behavior. So what this class will do, like once your program is compiled, what will happen? The bytecode will be created. right? And if the bytecode will be created, after the bytecode will be created, the program will be loaded, right? So when the program will be loaded or the bytecode will be loaded, if you have the retention policy will as class, that time the annotation will be just decided once the bytecode is loaded. Then the runtime, this will be there till the till your application runs. So I don't know, maybe if it works like a static variable, because static variable and this concept is different, right, Manish?
Yeah, but static. Why actually I thought like this? Because when we say runtime, right, it
Uh-huh.
is saying application throughout across classes, right? It will be available. That's what actually we know.
Yeah, across class. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it will work like static variable. That statement is how much how much value to say, I don't know, but yeah, it will available throughout the runtime. It will not be discarded. You can use it in any of your classes. Yeah, so it will be like static variable if you can think about it. Yeah.
And it will occupy memory in our classes.
Absolutely.
In
Absolutely.
VM, throughout the runtime.
Yes, and that's why it is important to choose which one you are using. Okay, so basically, Manish, and to everyone, there is a session called custom annotation. Please watch that, and don't want to go pretty much in depth of this. And if this retention policy is confusing you, please don't care about this right now. Just retention policy, just write retention policy runtime, and that should work fine. And more about it in our Spring Boot MVC sessions, whenever we'll be writing web applications and we'll be creating some of the custom annotations. Okay, but yeah, that is pretty much for now. Yeah, out of topic thing. Yeah, any other thing? No, Anju, good. Ashok, questions. Preeti, Sarath, Srinivas sir, question, you can ask me.
Sir, is it the same as Spring Boot profiling concept, sir?
Exactly. Same thing only. Only the thing is, like in a Spring Boot also, we basically the profile can be used like this, but like there is pros and cons. Why should we write profile like this, or should we create some XML file? Sorry, what we call that, YAML file or properties file to set the profile. Okay, so yeah, profile can be set through the Spring Boot and through like the way that I have shown you, like the couple of ways. So it's the exact same thing. It's like the bean that you are creating is that map to his profile, and according to the profile that you are selecting or activating, the beans will be created for that specific profile. Concept is same for Spring framework and the Spring Boot as well. Okay, only in that Spring Boot case, there are a couple of more ways you can set profiles. I think you can, that that variable that we are using, we can put it inside the application.properties file or in YAML file. This is one way, and I think there is some builder classes there also. Some application builder class, with that also we can set profile. There are a couple of ways to set it in Spring Boot, but yeah, this is all about all with Spring framework. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
one thing,
Yeah, Lipika.
all the time we need to, whenever I need a profile to active, I have to go manually, I have to change the activation, or is there anything?
Yes, that's what, Lipika. So yeah, you have to change it by yourself. So the best thing you can do, that's why do not hardcode the profile in your app.java. Right here, I have hardcoded my profile stuff right here. But the best thing that you can do, you can change the profile stuff right here. You can just do run configuration and change the profile related things from the argument right here, so that you are not hard coding anything in your program. You are controlling the way the profile will work from the system variables. So we can also do it like this, or also when we're running our application using the mabin command, we can also pass this kind of system properties, and that's the best way to activate the profile in different profiles that you are trying to activate when you are running your program, Deepika. Okay, this is the best way. Okay, and don't hard code like this, but for practicing you can hard code, and I'll be telling more thing about it in the Spring Boot session. Okay,
Thank you.
okay, any other questions?
When we work with a web application,
Uh-huh.
and how to we can refresh our content
So that time, Hemant, you remember we are writing something called web application initializer. How we create dispatcher servlet. Let's say you are writing a web application and you are setting up the dispatcher servlet, right, Hemant? So there is something called servlet context that you are taking uh, in the container. Like in the container will be created out of the servlet context, right? And with the servlet context, you are setting your web application initializer file where you are setting off all your beans, right? So with that only, with that servlet context only, you can add a parameter, a profile parameter, and can set the profile. Like in a servlet, they can either set it with the init parameter with the servlet context, or you can just do like just set it the profile stuff with the servlet context only. And when the container will be created and the dispatcher servlet will created using your servlet context, that time it will read the configuration that you are mentioning in the servlet context, and out of that the profile will be selected. If it is a normal web application, if it is a Spring MVC application, if it is a Spring Boot application, then just use it in your like the same way as I have said. You can just control it from the system properties, or you can just use Spring Boot application file or YAML file. Okay. Yeah, but we'll be discussing more about it. Let's not go into that right now, Hemant. It will not make sense. Any other question? Vinita, hi. Vinita there?
Hi, sir. Yeah, I'm here.
How are you? You're good?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm good, Vinita. Long time, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's amazing to join back again, and it's how.
Okay, 2 years? Okay,
No.
great. 1 year?
Maybe yes.
Yeah, okay.
But not that much time, yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
I can't. Just
So I'm going back to 2020. Akhil, Vinita, you guys are together here right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Akhil. How
Hi,
are you?
Anika.
Okay.
It's great to see you like here and wow, you continued.
Yeah, Akhil,
Wow.
Akhil is the like in this being I haven't seen somebody as consistent as Akhil. I don't know how he managed to listen me for 3-4 years. Okay, anyhow.
No, but it's always very helpful to attend the sessions.
Hey, thanks, Vinita. Okay, anyhow, great to see you guys. Okay, Vinita, no questions, right?
As of now, no.
Okay, perfect. So no questions, right? We can wrap up right now. Chaitanya, question. Sorry. Yeah.
One last thing, sir, can I add?
Yeah, Srinivas.
Sir, with respect to Spring 6.0,
Uh-huh.
what are the coding wise or conceptually, what are the new things added, sir, actually?
Coding wise, there are few changes. See, there are not much of changes, Srinivas. There are few things which has been deprecated. REST template, and for in some cases they have completely deprecated the previous way of using their API, and they have given us some new API classes and API methods to use it.
Okay, sir.
But anyhow, I'll try to cover up everything. Let's see, like how much we can complete. But for now, once I complete the Spring core, things will be easy because fundamentally everyone will be strong. Then we can just start exploring every module one by one. Okay, and like the core people of the batch, you guys can continue joining. The people like who are already experienced, they want to only understand specific module, you guys can attend specific module, or if you wish to attend all the modules, I'm pretty much happy, you can also do that. Okay, perfect. Any other questions?
I have a question, but it is out of the topic of today.
Yes, sir. Ask me.
Yeah, there was another recording. There was a previous year's recording I have given. And the first session is all about debugger there, and I could say the remote debugging videos were not.
Remote debugging we haven't covered. I think we haven't covered that. That topic is missing, sir. It's like I think we had a plan to do the remote debugging, and I think we have missed it because I think we switched to a different topic. But yeah, I'll cover that out, Sarath. I think Malli from the recorded who was the recorded videos also was asking for this. Malli, if you're hearing it, I'll be just soon covering the remote debugging stuff. Yeah. Any other questions? No, right? We can wrap up. Perfect. I'm wrapping up the call. Yeah. Chaitanya, question?
This is out of topic, Akash.
Okay.
Usually in my company, right, we are upgrading the Spring Boot version from 2.4 to 2.7.5.
Huh.
So at that time, I'm getting circular reference error. So you covered this topic of circular reference error.
I covered, no, Chaitanya?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, this particular issue, it was not coming into 2.2, but 2.7.5 it was.
Yeah. So maybe
because this one I add.
Yeah, maybe because Chaitanya. So is this like some system files or like your custom classes that you have?
Yes, some class files at the same time, some configuration files as well. We are getting this issue. So
Yeah.
I added this hello circular reference equal to true. That property I added.
Yeah. So that I think that one.
Fine, but
Yeah.
it is,
That is like, I think Soumik has this exact same issue, and I just told him to use this one only, maybe few days back if I remember it well. This is the property you can set in your Spring Boot file to avoid the issue, Chaitanya. That will go away. That issue will not come. But that is not the exact solution. That is not the exact solution, right? Because by that you are allowing the circular dependency to happen. So you can just need to find out if any beans which are getting created twice, or any auto configuration has already been done, or if any beans can be separated and can move to a different application file, because by the time you are loading some bean, the same bean is again like getting any reference or something which is causing the circular reference issue. So look like which bean is causing that issue, and figure it out, like where it is configured. Is it can be like move to a different config file or something, or just move it to the main configuration or the starter file, or the starter Spring Boot file that you have, and see if the issue is going away, and then you can keep on experimenting on that. You can put some screenshot on that particular bean configuration, Chaitanya, on the group chat. Let's see like if somebody can solve it, or if I can see it, and we can.
It is the company's.
Oh, okay. So sorry.
There are so many circular reference issue was coming. So one by one, I can't able to clear it.
Got it. But one if you clear, no, Chaitanya. One if you clear, then you can see like why this one is coming. Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
So again, it was keep on coming up there. So whether if I use this particular property in future, is there any issue?
No, there should not be any issue if you're allowing the circular reference, Chaitanya. For now, you can have it. You can let your team people know that you have used it. Then you can just spend some more efforts, like just see like why that issue is coming by deactivating it. For now, you can just put it. It will not impact anything, Chaitanya. But figure that out. Why it is happening. That is important.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, it should be some configuration issues, Chaitanya. Maybe just see like how that bean is configured, and just try moving it to all total to a different config file, and see. Most of the time that will resolve the thing. The migration project means, Chaitanya, you'll be having that kind of that circular reference issue. I also went through that, and I found the exact same question from at least from 2 or 3 people every day. And end of the day, it is like they all use that property because that's the go-to approach. Use that, it will be solved, and push it, right? Will be breaking head. But the thing is that it's good, like if you can spend some couple of hours and finding it out how that bean is configured, and why you are getting exception for that, and see if you're gonna be solving all the things you can solve it in minutes. Okay. Okay. Anyhow, guys, that's it for today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.